students, today we are going to discuss a very important chapter that is called solid state. This is one of the important chapters in the physical chemistry of 12th class. Okay. Now we know according to the physical state, substances are mainly classified into three types, that is now known as a solids, liquids and gases. Solids, liquids and gases according to the physical state. Yes or no? Already we completed the gaseous state, okay, and little bit of introduction of liquid state, that is the properties of liquids, that is the vapor pressure and viscosity and the surface tension. Okay, now in this today's lecture we are going to discuss solid state. Now in solid state, what happens? The particles may be atoms, ions or molecules which are closely arranged in three-dimensional space because of strong bonding forces. Due to this arrangement, solids acquire the rigidity and solids possess the definite geometrical shape or crystalline structure. Yes or no? Now, what are the characteristics of a solids? The first characteristic point will be they have definite mass and also volume, shape. Okay. Now what is the intermolecular distances? The distances are very short. That means the solid state structure constituting of atoms, molecules, ions which are very closely packed. Yes or no? So that is, these constituent particles are very close approximate with each other. That means the interparticle distance are very short. When the interparticle distances are very short, the whatever the interparticle force is very strong. Are you getting my point? Very strong force of attraction. Next, the constituent particles of a solid substance, that may be atoms, molecules, ions, have fixed position and they can only oscillate about their mean position. That means almost they are incompressible. That means the distance between the constituent particles are too small. Yes or no? That's why the solids are almost incompressible. Solids will have rigidity and solids possess the high density because the distance between the constituent particles is very short. That's why the density will be very high. Okay. Now whether a given substance would be exist as a solid, liquid or a gas, that will depending upon the two factors. The first factor will be the mutual attractive forces and second factor will be the tendency to escaping or tendency to escape. So these are the two important opposing forces, opposing tendencies. The one tendency, the mutual attractions, which keep the molecules or which keep the particles close together. That is the interparticle force of attraction. Mutual attractions will keep the molecules, that is atoms, molecules, ions, whatever the constituent particles close together. And one more important opposing force will be there, that is the tendency to escape. That means this force will keep particles far away from each other. Particles far away from each other. That means these are the two important driving and opposing forces. Are you getting my point? Now which force will be the predominating, that will decide the physical state of the substance. If you see the mutual attractions will be increases from gas to liquid and liquid to solid. That means in solid state maximum mutual attractive forces will be present. Yes or no? Whatever the tendency to escape, this is nothing but the thermal motion. Due to thermal energy, due to the kinetic energy, the particles keeping on moving far away from each other. That means solid to liquid, from liquid to gas, the escaping tendency increases. The tendency to escaping increasing from solid to liquid, liquid to gas, whereas the tendency to mutual attractions will increase from gas to liquid and liquid to solid, and the resulting force of attraction, that will be whether it is mutual attractions are dominating, then the gas become liquid and liquid become solid. If the escaping tendency will be dominating, that means solid become liquid and liquid become the gas. Yes or no? The existence of a substance in more than one solid modification is known as a polymorphism. That means if the solid substance which can exist in more than one modification in the crystalline solid is known as a polymorphism. What? Polymorphism. Okay. Now there are two different types of solids. The solids are categorized into number one crystalline solids, number two amorphous solids. In Greek, amorphous means no form. They do not have a definite form. Yes or no? Now here, the basic difference between the crystalline solids and amorphous solids is a solid is said to be crystalline if the constituent particles arranged in a regular manner in the three-dimensional space. That means in crystalline solid, what happens? The particles will be arranged in a regular manner. Regular arrangement of the constituent particles in crystalline solid. Yes or no? But whereas in the amorphous solids, irregular arrangement of the constituent particles. If the constituent particles arrangement will be regular in the three-dimensional space, that is called crystalline solid. If the constituent particles arranged in an irregular arrangement, the solid will be called amorphous solid. This is the basic difference. Yes or no? The constituent particle may be atom, molecule or ion. Yes or no? In amorphous solids, the arrangement of the building constituent particles will be in a irregular manner. Okay, and one more important thing, in a crystalline solid, due to arrangement of a constituent particles in three-dimensional space, they possess long range order forces. That means the extent of this arrangement will be regular in a long range order. That's why the attractive forces nothing but long range order forces. But they in amorphous solids, what happens? Only to some distance only, to some sort of distance only, these forces will be operating. That's why this is called short range order forces, long range order forces. Long range order forces corresponding to crystalline and short range order forces corresponding to amorphous. Okay. Now the basic differences between crystalline and amorphous solids. What are the basic difference between crystalline and amorphous solids? The first difference, in crystalline solids, they have a definite characteristic geometrical shape. Crystalline solids possess definite characteristic geometrical shape. But whereas amorphous solids, just now I told you, irregular shape. That means here regular shape, shall I write? Regular shape, here irregular shape. And what about the melting point of the compound? Now in the crystalline solid, if you see, they possess sharp and characteristic temperature. That means at a particular temperature only the crystalline solid will be melted. But whereas in case of a amorphous solid, there is no any sharp and characteristic temperature. On heating, what happens? The amorphous solids gradually soften and over a wide range of temperature only they melted. Yes or no? Next to cleavage. When crystalline solid is cut with a sharp edged tool, that let's suppose with a knife, they split into two pieces and newly generated surfaces and are planes and smooth. That means indirectly what we can conclude, they possess plane surfaces. If you cut with a sharp if you cut the crystalline solid with a sharp knife, you will get a plane surfaces. But here you cannot find the plane surfaces. No plane surface. That will be the difference between the crystalline and amorphous. Because in crystalline form, the particles will be arranged in a regular constant manner, whereas in a amorphous irregular manner. That's why there is no any plane surfaces in amorphous solids, whereas there is a clear plane surfaces in the crystalline solids. Now heat of fusion. In the heat of fusion, they have a definite and characteristic heat of fusion in case of a crystalline solid, whereas in case of a amorphous solid, they do not have any definite and characteristic heat of fusion. And the one more important thing, anisotropy. What is the meaning of anisotropy? I will tell you. The crystalline solids are anisotropic in nature, whereas amorphous solids are isotropic in nature. Are you getting my point? Anisotropic, isotropic, just I will explain. Now, nature, the crystalline solids are referred as a true solids, whereas the amorphous solids refer as a pseudo solid or a super cold liquid. Super cold liquid. And one more important thing, just now I told you, long range order forces in the crystalline solid, whereas short range order forces will be operating in the amorphous solids. Okay. What are the example regarding the crystalline and amorphous solids? The best example, sodium chloride, potassium chloride, copper sulfate, pentahydrate, and lot of other examples are there. Potassium nitrate, okay, magnesium chloride, calcium sulfate, barium sulfate. These are some example regarding the crystalline solids. Whereas plastic, rubber, glass, these are the example regarding the amorphous solids. Okay. Now amorphous solids have a great importance in the regular life. Example, amorphous silicon. It is the best material used in the photovoltaic cell, where sunlight will be converted into the electrical energy. Sunlight will be converted into electricity. Amorphous solids have a great tendency to flow slowly like a liquids. Okay, that's why they are called pseudo solid, otherwise super cold liquid. Do you know the best example? Glass. If you observe the glass, okay, the glass pans fixed to a windows or a doors of a old buildings, if you observe what happens, the bottom of the glass panel will be thicker as compared to the top of the glass. Why? Because due to slow motion of the glass particles, due to gravitational force, the bottom of the portion will be slightly thicker as compared to the top of the portion of the glass. Are you getting my point? That's why glass is referred as a super cold liquid. The glass is referred as a super cold liquid. Super cold liquid. Yes or no? Now, what is the meaning of isotropic and anisotropic? Now here, isotropic substances are those substances, okay, which shows same physical properties. The physical properties measured like electrical conductivity, thermal conductivity, or refractive index, which are measured in all directions, will have same physical property. That means if you change the direction, along that direction, if you measure the physical property, the value remain same. That means the physical properties will do not change by changing the direction in which it is measured. That means the physical quantity which are independent on the direction. That means in every direction, in each and every direction, if you measure these physical properties, you will get the same value. That is called isotropic substance. Isotropic substance. The best example, amorphous solids are called isotropic. Amorphous solids are called isotropic. In amorphous solids, if you measure any physical property like electrical conductivity, thermal conductivity, refractive index, otherwise velocity of light, anyone, if you measure in different direction, but the same value you will get, same physical property you will get. That means the physical property value becomes same. This is only because of the irregular arrangement of the constituent particles. Irregular arrangement of the constituent particles. Whereas anisotropic substances are those substances which show different physical properties like electrical conductivity, thermal conductivity, refractive index in different directions. This is very important. When the direction changes, the same physical property, if you measure in different directions, which will show different physical property value. That means the physical property value depending upon the direction, that is called anisotropic substance. That means if you want to calculate the speed of light in a particular direction in a crystal, okay, if you change the direction, immediately the speed of the light it is also changes. That means the physical quantity value changes by changing the direction, that is called anisotropic. The anisotropic nature is only because of the regular arrangement of the constituent particles. This is only because of what? Regular arrangement. Due to regular arrangement, the physical properties measured, the value changes by changing the direction. But whereas in irregular manner, in a irregular arrangement of the particles in a amorphous solids, by changing the direction, the physical property do not changes. Yes or no? So finally we can conclude anisotropic substances shown by crystalline solids and isotropic substances that will be shown by what? Amorphous solids. Yes or no? Now there is a one simple example. Let's suppose I am considering two particles, two atoms or two molecules. Let's suppose P and Q. Okay. Now here, let's suppose I am taking the one axis AB. If you want to measure along the AB axis, if you see along the AB axis, which particles you are seeing? Particle Q, otherwise particle P. That means along the path AB, along the path AB, if you see, you are watching the both particle P as well as particle Q continuously. You see particle P here, next immediately particle P is there, next immediately particle P, immediately particle P, otherwise particle Q, particle Q, particle Q, particle Q, like that. Okay. Now what I am doing, I am changing the direction of AB as a CD. Now the direction changes here. In this direction, if you carefully observe, you are not getting the same kind of particles. You are getting the alternative particles. You see here you are getting the P, next immediately Q, next P, next Q, next P, and next Q, next P, and next Q. That means if the direction changes, the location of the particles, the location of particles also changes. By changing the direction, if the physical property changes, that phenomena is known as anisotropy. That phenomena is referred as what? Anisotropy. Anisotropy is a characteristic property of crystalline solids. This is only because of the regular arrangement of the constituent particles. Yes or no? Now, classify the following as a crystalline as well as amorphous. So we have to classify the following compounds into two categories. Number one, crystalline. Number two, amorphous. The first one will be the naphthalene. Next, Teflon, polyurethane. This is a polymer. Okay. Next, benzoic acid, potassium nitrate, cellophane, polyvinyl chloride, fiberglass, copper, and zinc sulfide. Now you see, out of these compounds, what are the crystalline solids? Naphthalene is a crystalline solid, benzoic acid is a crystalline solid, potassium nitrate is a ionic crystalline solid, copper is a metallic crystal. Next, zinc sulfide, it is also ionic crystal. Okay. Now apart from those, what are the remaining compounds present? Teflon. Okay, this is a polymer. Polyurethane, it is a polymer. Cellophane, it is also a polymer type. Parchment paper, cellophane paper, which can act as a semi-permeable membrane. Polyvinyl chloride, it is simply known as a PVC plastic. And fiberglass, these will be the amorphous solids. Yes or no? So we have to know some examples regarding the amorphous solids and crystalline solids. And next one, how to classify the crystalline solids. Basically, the crystalline solids can be categorized into four different types based upon the nature of the constituent particles. That is, what are the building units present in the corresponding crystalline solid, and which type of intermolecular force of attractions are operating between the constituent particles. Total how many types of crystalline solids? 4. What are those? Molecular solids. Number 2, ionic solids. Number 3, covalent or network solids. Number 4, metallic solids. Okay, let us see one by one. The first one will be the type of solid, and next one will be the what will be constituent particles, and what are the force of attractions, is there any examples, and what will be the physical state, and what are the electrical properties like conductivity. Okay, the first category which we are covering here, that is called molecular solids. The name is itself indicating that the constituent particle, the building block of the crystal will be the molecule. That's why it is called molecular crystal. Okay, now here there are different types of molecules: polar molecules, non-polar molecules, and molecules which possess the hydrogen bonding. So again, the molecular solids are molecular crystals. Moleculars instead of solids, molecular crystals. Molecular crystals are again categorized into 3 types. What are those? Number 1, polar molecular solids, because the constituent particle will be the polar molecule. Next to non-polar molecular solids, because the constituent particle will be the non-polar molecule. And hydrogen bonded crystalline solids. Are you getting my points? And here molecules which are capable to form the hydrogen bonding. Okay, now what are the attractive forces between the polar molecule? Dipole intermolecular force of attraction. Between the non-polar molecules, van der Waals force of attraction. Between the hydrogen bonded molecules, we know hydrogen bond. Okay, what are the example for dipole force of attraction molecular solids? Hydrogen chloride, sulfur dioxide. And van der Waals force of attraction molecules: beryllium chloride, SI8, P4, I2, F2, CF4, CH4, CO2, and lot of other examples are also there. Ozone, it is a molecular. Are you getting my point? That means you see argon, noble gases, neon, noble gases. Yes or no? Now come to hydrogen bonded crystalline solids. Example: ammonia, ice, nothing but the solid state water, glucose, urea, sucrose. You can write sucrose also. Example. Okay, now what is the physical state of these molecular solids? The first category is soft solid with low melting point, soft solid with very low melting point, and harder as compared to 1 and 2, but they possess again low melting point. Low melting point in the sense, compared to other solids, other crystalline solids, these solids possess low melting point. And these molecular crystalline solids are insulator, because the molecules are the building block of the constituent crystalline solids. That's why the molecules are electrically neutral. That's why they are a bad conductor of electricity. Okay, now the second category will be the covalent or network solids. The constituent particles will be the atoms. And what are the bonds present in the covalent crystal? Covalent bond, because sharing of electron between the 2 atoms resulted in the covalent bond formation. Example: we have diamond, quartz, silica, boron, black phosphorus, aluminum nitride, boron nitride, SiC, silicon carbide, silicon carbide. It is also called carborundum. This will be one of the hardest material like diamond. And next, graphite. Okay, now next, if you see, they have very hard, okay, and have high melting point, and they are rigid but brittle. Okay, but here one exception is there: graphite is a soft. Do you know graphite is a non-metal? Graphite is a what? Non-metal. Even though graphite is a non-metal, but it is a good conductor of electricity due to presence of free pi electrons. Graphite possesses easily movable free pi electrons. Yes or no? Do you know diamond is a bad conductor of electricity, but whereas the graphite is a good conductor of electricity. Okay, now the third category, ionic solids. Do you know in ionic compounds there are two oppositely charged ions, cation and anions will be present. And what are the force of attraction? Electrostatic force of attraction. There are lot of examples: sodium chloride, potassium nitrate, KNO3, copper sulfate, CuSO4, dot 5H2O, calcium fluoride, zinc sulfide, potassium sulfate. So they are hard, rigid, brittle, but they possess high melting point. Yes or no? Now, these ionic compounds are good conductor of electricity in the fused state or molten state or in aqueous solution also. In some solids, they also act as a conductor. Example AgCl. We will discuss how in solid state the AgCl can conduct current. We will explain in the crystal defects. In solid defects. Okay. And last one more type of solid will be there. Crystalline solid will be there. That is called metallic solid. In metallic solid, metal atoms, that is a positively charged metal ions, which are known as a kernels, which are embedded in a sea of electrons. Here also metal ion and free of electrons, there is a electrostatic force of attraction, which is referred as a metallic bond. Example metals, we know all S block elements are metals and all D block elements are also metals. Silver, magnesium, iron, copper, these are example for metals. These metals are hard, but we know metallic properties. Metals are malleable and ductile, and also metals are good conductor of electricity. Yes or no? Here actually what happens, if you see any metal, metals possess very low ionization potential. Yes or no? Due to very low ionization potential, metals will easily lose their valency electron. Okay, and metal will form what? Positive charge ion. Metal will form what? Positive charge ion. This is called metal kernel. Metal kernel. So these positive charge species will be present in the sea of electrons. So the released electrons, which are freely movable electrons, which are present in the lattice, and they are easily movable. Okay. So this is a sea of electron. Sea of electron. In the sea of electron, the positive charge particles, that is the metal ions, are embedded here and there. Here and there. So there is a electrostatic force of attraction between the metal ion and free electron. This is called metal ion. This negative charge corresponding to free electron, and the bond between these two is called metallic bond. Due to free electrons only, these metals are act as a good conductor of electricity. Good conductor of electricity as well as good conductor of heat also. Okay. Now, the next question, second question. Classify the following solids as a ionic, metallic, molecular and covalent. That is the network, even in amorphous also. Do you know P4O10? This is a first compound, phosphorus pentoxide. Phosphorus pentoxide, which possesses molecule, that's why it is under the molecular solid. Graphite. Graphite, just now I told you, crystalline solid. Molecular, it is a covalent crystalline solid. Graphite is a covalent crystalline solid. SiC, carborundum, I already told you, it is also in the covalent crystalline solid. Brass, do you know more metal? Okay, so metallic type, that will be the brass. Rubidium is also metal, that will be also under the metallic crystal. And iodine, this is I2. Do you know I2 is a molecular solid? Because iodine is a molecule, I2 is a molecule, so that's why molecular solid. Iodine is a molecular solid. Okay, now the next example, ammonium phosphate. Do you know ammonium phosphate? Ammonium phosphate, NH3 taken thrice PO4. Do you know this is a ionic compound? Because here one cation is there, one anion is there. So this is a ionic crystal. Ionic crystal, that is called ammonium phosphate. And next, lithium bromide is also lithium cation, bromide anion. Do you know silicon? Silicon is a atom. So atoms will be the constituent particles of a covalent crystal. Plastic we know amorphous. Okay. Silicon it is repeated twice. Okay. P4 is a molecular solid. Solid CO2, which is known as a dry ice. Are you getting my point? It is also molecular solid. Molecular crystalline solid. Okay. Now there are some questions regarding the classification of crystalline solids. Okay, the first one will be, which of the following will exist as a covalent crystal in the solid? Covalent crystal only we have atoms. Here only atom will be the silicon. Okay, iodine will be the molecule, that is the molecular crystal. Phosphorus will be molecular crystal, and sulfur will be also molecular crystal. Now the next question, that will be fourth question, which of the following is a two-dimensional covalent solid? Two-dimensional covalent solid will be the graphite. Okay, quartz will be three-dimensional, carborundum three-dimensional. Okay, germanium, pure germanium is a three-dimensional, but graphite will be a two-dimensional layer lattice structure. Okay, now next question, that is the question number 5. In the question number 5, which of the following is not a crystalline solid? Do you know KCl, cesium chloride is a ionic crystal, and rhombic sulfur is a molecular crystalline solid, but whereas glass will be the amorphous. Glass will be what? Amorphous solid. So answer will be the glass. Okay, now which substance will conduct the current in the solid state? Do you know diamond is a bad conductor of electricity, graphite is a good conductor of electricity due to free movable pi electrons. Free movable pi electrons. Okay, now the next question, which of the following does not give any diffraction bands with X-ray? Now you see, what is the major difference between crystalline and amorphous? Crystalline solids will show X-ray diffraction, whereas amorphous solids do not show the X-ray diffraction. Now here you see plastic will be the amorphous, that's why it doesn't show the X-ray diffraction study. Are you getting my point? Amorphous. Plastic will be what? Amorphous. So that is the answer. Okay, next question number 8. Question number 8, covalent solid among the following is? Covalent solid corresponding to atoms. Okay, now solid argon will be the molecular crystalline solid, MgO ionic crystalline solid, iron metallic crystalline solid, boron nitride will be the covalent crystalline solid. So answer will be the fourth option. Okay, a solid melts slightly above 273 Kelvin. 273 Kelvin in the sense 0 degrees Celsius, slightly greater than 0 degrees Celsius, and poor conductor of heat and electricity. Poor conductor of heat and electricity, and they possess very low melting point. Basically, if you see molecular solids only possess very low melting point. Yes or no? Low melting point. Okay, naphthalene is a molecular solid. Naphthalene is a molecular solid.